All right, morning, everyone. Let's get started. Welcome to the next installment of the JKMRC Friday morning seminar series that take place here at the Indoor-Pili Lecture Theater as well as online. My name is Katerina, and myself and Karina are co-chairs of organizing the seminar series, and we'll be taking turns introducing the speakers. So before we start, on behalf of the University of Queensland and the Sustainable Minerals Institute, would like to respectfully acknowledge all traditional owners and their custodianship of the lands of which we all meet today, as well as the traditional people of Chile. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. We recognize their valuable contribution to Australian and global society. So our speaker today is Dr. Douglas Aitken, who is the general manager of SMI ICE Chile in Santiago, where he contributes to many of the center's research and development projects. He is a civil and environmental engineer with a PhD in sustainable bioenergy pathways. And his main areas of research are in sustainable water supply systems, mine waste management, as well as local socioeconomic development. So as the general manager of SMI ICE Chile, his aim is to help facilitate the greatest possible positive impact to society through the center, together with colleagues and partners in Chile, Australia, and elsewhere. And today's presentation is SMI ICE Chile, how the Sustainable Minerals Institute is working towards greater resource use efficiency, value creation, and environmental rehabilitation in Latin America. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Katerina. So, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here after more than 4 years that I've not been in Brisbane. So I'm very appreciative of being here, and also the opportunity to give a presentation at the seminar series today. So, and thank you very much for the organization of the seminar series, Karina and Katerina. I greatly appreciate that. So really good to see so many people here. You might have noticed that I brought along a little bottle of wine here. So someone mentioned bribery at the start of the, before we came in. I would never do such a thing, obviously. So we do have a quiz, so pay attention. The quiz will be after the presentation. This bottle of wine came all of the way from the central aisle of BWS in the West End. So fortunately, I was able to pick up some Chilean red. I did have a plan to bring something a little bit more refined over here, but there's a bit of a story there, which I won't take the time of this seminar to explain. So pay attention, please. So the plan for There we go. The plan for the presentation or the purpose is really to generate a bit of enthusiasm around SMI ICE Chile, some interest from those who are watching this. For collaboration, there are lots of opportunities that we can open through the center that the SMI has in Chile and Latin America. And I want to just show a little bit about what we're doing and hopefully stimulate some interest so we can develop some new opportunities together. So what I'm going to do is just explain a little bit about the background of SMI ICE Chile, and then we're going to go through some of the thematic areas that Katerina explained in the title. And in each one, we'll have a look at some opportunities to collaborate as well. So for those of you who don't know, SMI has been very active in Chile and Latin America for many years, but it's only since 2017 that we've had the office in Santiago. So that was almost 5 years ago. A lot has changed since then. So that was when I really started at the center, and we were just a few people in the center back then. And I'd also just like to take the opportunity to say thanks to many of the people who've contributed to the center since then, particularly David Mulligan, who was the center director back then, to Nev, to Rick for their support over the past few years, to Paul Napier at JK Tech as well, and a lot of the researchers who have worked in the projects with us over the past few years, and particularly Liliana, Neil, Glenn Corder, have been some of the most important Mansour researchers who've stuck with the center and always look for opportunities. So we're very appreciative of that. And of course, the team that we have in Chile are fantastic. So as a center in Chile linked to the SMI, we have a purpose that's very similar to the SMI. We effectively act as a hub to the SMI, looking to develop solutions to the sustainability challenges of the industry and society in Chile and also in Latin America. In the center, we've chatted about a bit about the vision that we have. What we really want to see is a mining industry that contributes to global sustainability, but also long-term social, economic, and environmental development in the territories that are impacted by mining. So we do a lot of research and development projects. We do training and we do teaching, and we're also looking to support more knowledge and technological transfer from the SMI, from JK Tech, from UQ to Chile and to Latin America. Just a couple of the key challenges that I wanted to mention that are facing the mining industry. These are very similar to the sort of challenges that are affecting the mining industry here as well in many other countries. Operational costs, fluctuating mineral prices, which we've seen considerably over the past few months, limited resources, reducing ore grades, reduced water availability, the need for local social value in mining impacted territories, and the direct and indirect environmental impacts of mining. So I'll look at some of the projects that we're currently undertaking at SMI Chile that we're looking to address some of those challenges. We've been working recently on making some changes to the structure of the center in the Chile, and we've settled on 3 main research lines. The first in the top left is focused on processing, and particularly energy, water, and emissions associated with processing. We're also working in environmental rehabilitation and dynamic ecosystems. And we have a social and health and safety group working social performance and people safety. And also very similarly to SMI, we've got some cross-cutting research programs focused on tailings, mine waste, mine closure, particular matter management, mitigation adaptation to climate change, and also we're wanting to place some focus on artisanal and small-scale mining, which is a huge sector in Latin America. In terms of our impact at the moment, so we have projects mainly from the central to the north of Chile. So some of you who are familiar with Chile know that most of the copper, gold, lithium mining is from the central valleys to the far north of Chile. So in the center, we've completed 39 research and development projects. We've got 13 active projects. We've got 5 PhD projects that are here at the SMI that are linked to the projects that we have in Chile. We currently have 27 staff, 19 of which are researchers, and we've got a really strong network of partnerships with local universities as well. So we're working directly with 6 local partner universities. And you can just see some of the different companies and groups that we're working with. We've got quite a few projects with BHP, with Codelco. We have Mitsubishi through their investment group there. We've got a new project on the social risks of lithium extraction with Volkswagen. So it's quite varied. So the first topic that I want to talk about in detail is resource use efficiency. So this is really linked to that first research line that I talked about, but I'm going to talk mostly about water resource management, okay? So in terms of mineral processing, there's a huge amount of potential that we can do through the center. We haven't managed to realize much of that potential yet, but we'll be working on that in the coming months and years. We have Mohsin coming out very soon to work on some of the business development of that area. So in this part, I'll be talking mostly about water. For those of you that have been to Chile, you'll know that water is one of the key social and economic challenges of the country. So we've seen in the past 10 years the longest drought that region has experienced, which is impacting access to water from communities, towns, cities. It's impacting agriculture considerably. Also the mining industry, we've seen a drop-off in production from some operations as a result of low water availability. So in the center, we're very much focused on what can we do for the mining industry, but also considering the larger scale within catchments and within regions. The mining industry is adapting. There's been a huge amount of investment in the last decade on the use of desalinated seawater as a new water source for mining. So the chart in the center there is the use of seawater for mining. So you can see from 2015 to 2020, that's doubled. The trend is a continual increase. So that's reducing the amount of continental water used by the mining industry, which is very important in those regions where the mining industry is a considerable consumer of water, which is mainly in the far north. So here in this map, we have desalination projects that are currently operating in the brown color, and desalination projects that are in the project stage, so being developed. What we're seeing is clusters of desalination plants being built and their associated infrastructure. So one of the trends is operations developing their independent desalination plants and infrastructure, which is leading to a build-up and duplication of infrastructure on the coastline and also inland. So this is leading to quite disconnected water supply systems between different users, where you have mining taking desalinated seawater up to the highest elevations, often in many of the regions, and local water users, the communities, agriculture using fresh water. But there's a bit of a disconnect. And particularly with SWMI, we've seen for many years an opportunity there to perhaps start to integrate some of these supply systems. So something we've been working on is towards a more integrated system with the opportunity to perhaps in regions use 2-3 desalination plants instead of 15 or 20 desalination plants, but perhaps connect desalinated seawater with fresh water in an interconnected system. So we joined forces with Mitsubishi through MCI, which is their investment group in Chile, and they work a lot with some of the local copper producers there, and they're very interested in the issue of water management and how we can address that. So we're working with them on the development of 2 water supply planning tools. So one planning tool is what we call the simplified tool, which is for public use, freely available online and easy to use. And I'll just show a video of the current prototype that we have working at the moment. And then we are developing a more comprehensive tool, which is based on a GIS platform, where we're using a lot of hydrological, hydrogeological, climate data, topography, water use, demand of the region to develop a database, and together with the use of optimization algorithms within the software, where the user can define what their water use is, who they may wish to share their water with, where they want their water supply to be from, and then the algorithms together with the baseline data can show what the optimal system would be. And the idea behind this is that the users of this software can understand what the opportunities are. They can discuss with other groups. So regional water supply planners can discuss with the mining industry, they can discuss with the agricultural sector, with communities, what are the opportunities around this, and they can look at through the software they're developing, what are the sort of costs associated with an integrated system compared to individual systems. So we're working on that project with SWMI and with several local groups as well. This is just the simplified tool that we're working on. Let's see if this video works. There we go. This is just to give you an idea of what it looks like. as I say, this is really for users that are new to the concept to get an idea of what's possible. And on the bottom here, you can see a slider where you can choose the environmental cost of the system or the economic costs or a combined cost. So you can get a bit of an understanding of how a shared system might compare to independent systems. And then we're also currently working on the development of all of the information that we require for the more comprehensive tool, and also the algorithm development through SWMI and with some of our local partners in Chile. So the team that we have working on this is very diverse. We have a very important group here in SWMI that's led by Liliana and with Neil that are really focused on the technical aspects of the project. And they're working with the University of Antofagasta in Chile. And in the center in Chile, we're working a lot on the facilitation of the project, engagement with local stakeholders. Recently, a couple of months ago, we did a number of workshops with users in the Atacama region. So the project is focused in the Atacama region. So we went up to the city of Copiapó, which is the main city in that area, to talk with the mining companies, with government agencies, the water boards, with communities, the agricultural sector, just to present the project, the concept, the tools, get their feedback on what it is that we're doing and developing. One of the most important aspects of that outreach was understanding from them what are their challenges in the region for the sectors in which they're working, and then thinking about what are the opportunities if they think about integrated water supply systems. So we actually took very large maps with us where they could map out where they thought they could take water from in the future, where there are current developments, who they could share with. And we started to build up a number of scenarios that we'll be looking to test in the coming months, and then show the results to the workshop participants. So that was absolutely fantastic. And we had Liliana out there as well with us, and we had great participation from all of the different sectors that we're focusing on there. So these are just some of the maps of the scenarios that we're building based on the information, the feedback that we received from the participants. And we also undertook a survey about the project, its relevance. The results were extremely promising. Some of them were disappointed that we hadn't started the project earlier. So that was, well, it was just great to hear how important they felt this kind of concept could be in the region in which they are, and how willing they would be to use the tools that we're developing. So we really think we could have some significant impact in that region, and also potentially in other regions of Chile as well. So also as part of that project, we're developing a network of partners from mining, from agriculture, from the public sector, from local academia. So we're really developing a very strong group to discuss the key issues associated with the development of integrated water supply systems. And we're getting a huge amount of interest, particularly from the government and from the mining sector in the project at the moment. So that's fantastic. I'd also like to mention the support they received from the Complex Ore Bodies program for this project. So we received some early funding from the program, which then allowed us to start this project with Mitsubishi. And we also have a PhD project linked with this project in Chile, which Claudio Moreno is working on here in SWMI. So as I mentioned, I also wanted to discuss some of the opportunities related to the topics that I'm presenting today. So in this area, that project that I presented is going extremely well. I think we're likely to see an extension of that project. We hope to see the project continue, potentially with the implementation of the tools, working with a local partner. Also considering, so we're looking at the water supply, but considering more the water demand management. So connecting the two with water supply and improving water use efficiency. And there's a huge amount of work to be done in that in Chile, particularly in the mining sector around water recovery. So that's an area that we're looking at with SWMI in detail. Also, we're working related to that, with Lisa and Susanna on the impacts of water chemistry on flotation, which is also related to water recovery. We're discussing with JK Tech the opportunities for updating some of the software and considering including water balance information, some of the existing software of JK Tech. And also we see a lot of opportunities in energy and the emissions modeling, energy management and mitigation of emissions within that research line in Chile. So for anyone who's either here, we can talk at the end of the presentation, or anyone who's listening online, I'll give my my email address. You can contact me if any of the topics that I'm discussing are of interest, and we should talk about it further. So the second topic that I want to talk about is value creation. So this fits really within the social performance and people safety group that we have in Chile. And really what we want to do through that group is make the transition from the sort of transactional relationship that we often see with communities in the industry, particularly in Latin America, to the development of the territories based on shared visions between the different sectors and the communities that are living there. So one of the projects that I just want to show at the moment is Cuscaya, which means together in Aymara. So we're working on this project with a local group, EBP, Ser Patrimonio, Power Ledger, which is from Australia, and obviously the center that we have in Chile. This project is based in the far north of Chile, in the region of Tarapacá, up there, and it's funded by BHP, who have an operation in the region of Tarapacá, and there are various indigenous communities that are living in that area. So we're working with a few of them through this project, mainly focused on the water management aspect, but as you'll see, also on waste management. So some of the complications of that area is they're already being greatly affected by climate change. There isn't good, robust data on water flows or precipitation in that area, but just talking with some of the communities, their estimation of water reduction in the local river is a reduction of around 50 to 70% of the water. What's going to be important is they start to monitor the water flows, which is related to the project that we're doing. There's fairly limited planning of the water resources that they have, and an understanding of how they're using the water resources, how water availability is changing between seasons, over years. And there are also some conflicts between communities with some of the local mining companies as well. So on this project, we are working on a network of sensors and a visualization system to understand the dynamics of the water supply and water use system that they have in two of the communities. And then we're developing a plan together with the community to consider how they can better use the water resources that they have. One of the most important aspects of this project is the co-design of the projects that we're developing with the community. So we spent a lot of time with different community groups, really understanding the challenges from their perspective, listening to them about what their ideas are for solutions, and then working together with them with some of the technologies that Camilo mentioned to start developing some solutions together. So I'll just go through, there's just a bit of information about the sensors and the nodes that we're using. It was last week, part of the team were out there installing the sensor system around the water supply system. So in the pipes, in the storage tanks that they have to start to generate the sort of data that'll be useful for modeling their systems and understanding their efficiency and the opportunities for improved management. And the engagement that we have with the communities will continue throughout the project to continually receive their feedback. We have heard from them about previous projects that they've had with other groups that haven't been successful, and there's been a bit of a push of technologies from local universities that finally weren't uptaken by the communities or continued. So that aspect will remain important, and we'll also have follow-up following the project with the communities to understand the use afterwards. And the biodigester is also a really interesting aspect of the project, where this is a technology that doesn't have a huge amount of implementation in Chile. In many other parts of the world, I've done some work previously in Cambodia on the development of biodigesters. So I thought it could be a really interesting test case to try digesters there, where they produce a lot of organic waste. They use gas for the cooking, which is quite expensive. So it's an opportunity to produce fertilizer and for gas. So if it works here, there's the potential to expand that to other communities in that area. Just one other project that I wanted to mention in this area that we're working on is with the communities of the Salar de Atacama. So this is in the Antofagasta region of Chile, where we're working with Corfo, which is part of the Ministry of Economy, for the distribution of funds from lithium extraction for the development of the local communities. So we're working with the local communities to understand their needs and support them in the development of these projects. That's a very important project that we have for the communities there, because it's quite a substantial amount of financing that they're getting through the lithium extraction. So it's a very important role that we have in supporting in the development of the projects that they'll generate off the back of that financing. As Nigel mentioned, a lot of that is focused on the water and energy challenges that they have in that area. So in terms of the opportunities that we have in that area at the moment, so the projects that we have in Tarapacá, those are effectively pilot projects that we're doing there, testing new concepts, new technologies. And if those are successful, then potentially scaling those up and implementing them in other areas, potentially not just in Tarapacá, but other regions of Chile and Latin America. And then with the communities in the Salar de Atacama is supporting them through research. I think there are a lot of opportunities there, particularly in the environmental centers here, or other groups in UQ actually, for to ensure that the projects have considerable impact. And then also I've listed a few other areas of interest within that area. It's such an important area in Latin America for the mining territories. So I'm planning to have many conversations with CSRM to consider how we can collaborate more through the center. So the final topic that I wanted to talk about is environmental rehabilitation, and this sits within the environmental rehabilitation dynamic ecosystems group. And I just wanted to mention some of the projects that we have with our industry partners, which is the Codelco Salvador division. So a couple of nice aerial photos there. The one on the right is from about 2 months ago. So it's quite unusual to see that kind of snowfall in the Atacama region, as you probably expect. 99.9% of the time, it looks like it does on the left-hand side. So that was a bit different. So it's up in the Atacama region, up there. They produce just over 75,000 tons of cathodes a year, and a bit of molybdenum as well. Some of the challenges that we're working with them on are a rehabilitation program for the salt flats up in the highlands of the region where they've historically extracted their water. We're also undertaking a project with them on the rehabilitation of an irrigation program that they've been working on. They've been using tailings water to irrigate a pilot plot of land with certain crops irrigated with that water. And we just started another project which is on their sustainability commitments for 2030, which are really focused on emissions reduction, reducing water consumption, recycling their waste, improving their tailings management, and also developing the local economy. So a pretty exciting area to work in with them as well. in terms of the first project that we're working on them with, so we're developing a management plan for that area. So it's the sort of area you can see on the left-hand side. There's a really stunning mix of wetlands and salt flats with quite a fragile ecosystem that exists there. There have been some repercussions from the water use for the mine site over the past few decades. We're also developing a scientific research plan with them around the ecophysiology of the systems there. We're also working with local communities and schools on an education plan to explain the value of the local ecosystems that they have, and what the management plan is for the conservation of that area. And we're also working on an infrastructure project just to develop infrastructure to show key information about that area to visitors to that area. And then we're also working on communications and dissemination. So this is a project that's it's been started about a year ago. So we've just finished off the first few reports on this project, and there's quite a few of them just focused on different aspects, looking at the flora and fauna of the area. We've had teams that have gone up to the site to survey the flora and fauna there, and also to do some analysis on the ecosystem dynamics there. So just to give you an idea of the sort of landscape in the area that we're working with, it's really quite a fascinating area with absolutely stunning landscapes. That's the main salt flats there. And we're also working with them on forensic analysis of the vegetation of the area and understanding the cause and the dates of the death of some of the plants in that area, using isotopic analysis of the living plants and the dead plants to develop a geochronometer of the ecosystem, just to get an understanding of the dynamics and the causes of some of the impacts to the vegetation there. And another project that I mentioned together with them is the bioaccumulation of metals in plants. This is on the irrigation plot that I mentioned, where we've been looking at the uptake of metals into the plants, into the soils, and what's been the impact of irrigating with the tailings wastewater. Effectively, the tailings water, it was used for irrigation as a way to use the tailings, but Salvador are now looking at the opportunity to recirculate more of the water that they're using. So we'll be looking at the possibilities with them of the rehabilitation of this site in the coming years. That's just some of the photos from that area. And the last project that I wanted to mention is the 2030 sustainability commitments that Codelco has, that we've started working on a project with Salvador, looking at the planning for how they can achieve their sustainability commitments. And as I mentioned, it's very focused on their water footprint, how they can incorporate the circular economy principles into the division, how they can improve their tailings management, and how they can create more value within the territory. So lots of exciting opportunities as well there. The project that we're working on currently is really on developing a roadmap, considering the sort of management changes they might need, technical changes that they'll need to implement on site, also the research and development needs. So there may well be some interesting opportunities for SMI and other partners with the division in that area. So just to complete that part of the presentation, so in terms of the opportunities, we're working with Salvador on the rehabilitation and conservation of the wetlands and salt flats. That's a relatively typical ecosystem in many eastern parts of Chile. So there are opportunities to work in other regions as well with the knowledge and expertise that we're developing through that project. Also, I mentioned the phytoremediation of the contaminated land, and potentially there might be some opportunities for phytomining in some of these mineral-rich areas. And also we're looking to combine a lot of the expertise that we're developing, the projects that we're developing in environmental monitoring together with other partners, and particularly with local community groups as well. A few other areas of interest I just wanted to mention: acid mine drainage. We're looking at a few projects in that area at the moment. It's obviously probably interesting to several people here. Tailings characterization and mineral recovery. I've been talking with Anita and also with Nathan about that area. So we think there's some great opportunities through the center there. And also in mine closure, this hasn't been such a huge issue in Chile or Latin America. A lot of the mines are relatively young, but we're starting to see some of these larger mines coming to the end of their life cycle. So that's becoming an extremely important aspect in Chile and Latin America, where there's a great need for mine closure practices, planning, rehabilitation, monitoring, and creating value through the mine closure process. So that's quite an exciting area that we need to look at as well. So I mentioned at the start, our vision is that we want a mining industry that contributes to global sustainability and also for the long-term development of the impacted territories. I think we're starting to achieve that. I think I hope I've shown that through a lot of the projects that we're developing with UQ, with SMI, JK Tech, here and other partners locally, that we're starting to develop a lot of value through the center and really contributing to some of the most important factors of global sustainability. So I showed the different groups that we're developing in the center at the moment. It's going to be very important for colleagues here to start communicating more, linking in with the different teams that we have there. In terms of what we need to do now through the center, further development of the projects and the project areas that we have in the different lines and the programs that I mentioned, not just in Chile. So everything that I've shown is in Chile. It's been quite difficult in the past years to open up new opportunities in other countries. We have done some projects in Peru. We recently completed a project in Colombia. I think now the time that we've established ourselves well in Chile is to start looking at the other opportunities that we have in other countries. More involvement of SMI and UQ colleagues. It's been difficult. It's been really difficult in the past few years with the pandemic. At the start, I showed some pictures of the workshops that we had, of the training that we did with lots of colleagues going over there, and it was fantastic. I remember all of the dinners out and the great conversations that we had. So fantastic. We can bring that back soon. I think we're seeing that. There's lots of planning for people going out soon. Technology testing and piloting. I think there's a lot we can do through SMI, also through JK Tech in that sort of area. Training programs, that's another area that we haven't developed fully. We've done a little bit of training, but there's far more we can do through that. Linking PhD projects through the projects that we have in Chile. I think it's quite exciting for students here to be able to work on projects in Latin America, and we have the capabilities to facilitate that as well. And also strengthening the connections that we have with the local universities. Again, not just in Chile, but in Latin America, we've got a really good network, but we can improve upon that so much and hopefully develop benefits for the universities locally and for UQ and SMI. And also, it'd be nice to see the center as a bit of a hub to connect other international universities. Recently, we've had visitors from the University of Lorraine, from Northwestern coming to the center. So it's really great that we're becoming a little bit of a hub for collective thinking, starting to collaborate on projects together from various different countries. So we can perhaps expand on that as well. So I think what we need to do now is need to connect more. We need to start planning. We need to act. You know, we can do lots of talking. I've had lots of coffees over the past few days. We actually need to do something on the back of that. And then I think we can make some positive change together. So that's my email. I've got 2 email addresses there. So just choose whichever one you would like to message to connect with me. If I'm here all of next week, so if anyone wants to grab a coffee, that would be fantastic and we can chat. I think I've used probably more time than I should have done. We've still got the quiz to go, but before that won't take too long. But before we do that, perhaps we can take some questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Doug. Fantastic. I can't believe you still want more coffees. Do we have any questions in the audience? We do have a question online already, but maybe let's start with the audience.
I'm always good at starting people off. So yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity. And I mean, for those people online, for people who are watching, it's obviously SMI Chile has a lot of resources in it, but it can also tap into the resources we have here in Australia, which is one of the real strengths of this center. So on that, you haven't had opportunity in your talk to mention the geoscience side much, and discovery, but I mean, you mentioned mine waste and the application geoscience to that, and obviously there's geometallurgy as well. But what do you see in terms of opportunities for us being able to contribute to the mining industry in the discovery space, and in other aspects, and maybe in the deep mining space as well?
So the deep mining space, there's a lot of interest in that at the moment in Chile. So a lot of the higher grade ores are obviously, you know, at further depth, and that's particularly with Codelco. Chuquicamata is developing their underground mine. So there are definitely some opportunities there that we can discuss with them potentially. I'm not sure if there have been conversations with Chuquicamata and in the SMI recently about where we can not put. So maybe we can make that connection. And then in terms of exploration, I know that there are quite a few junior companies setting up in Chile at the moment, and quite a lot in gold and copper. So, and quite a few from Australia, actually. So there are certainly linkages that we can make there. In a lot of the conversations that I've had through AusCham over there. So a lot of these Australian juniors that are going over there connect with AusCham to develop their networks, and we're very involved with AusCham as well. So we can make the connections there as well. You know, it's not my area, exploration, but if we can facilitate some research projects in that through the center, I think that would be fantastic. And we can certainly have a chat about how we can do that, Steve.
Anna Little Boy is asking, how might the outcomes of the research become incorporated into business in Chile? For example, do you hope to commercialize the water supply planning tool? And if so, what routes might you consider for this?
So the water supply planning tool, it was always meant to be something that's public. So that was the agreement with Mitsubishi, is that we would make a project and research outcomes that were for the public good. So for that example, no, I think that'll remain public. There might be an offshoot of that project where we could actually commercialize something, and perhaps Liliana, we have that conversation pending with Neil as well to think about what the opportunities might be there. Commercialization, I think it can be extremely important for the center. It should be very important for the center in terms of commercializing some of our output. I'm just trying to think of some of the commercialization results that we've had in the center, but I think that's perhaps an area that we need to put some focus on, actually. So we are doing a lot of interesting projects where we could perhaps have some better commercial outcomes from it. We are now we have a stronger relationship with JK Tech here, so that's perhaps where we can use some of the expertise that we have there to ensure that we do get the commercialization pathway in the center in Chile as well.
Do we have any more questions? We do. Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks, Doug. That was a really, really great overview. I'm also really, it's a bit more of a comment really, but it's great to see that through all the projects and streams you presented, the implication of the social team and the involvement, real effort to get things, local communities involved from the beginning, from the planning. That's a real advantage, I think. And I was interested to see the project in Maminya and those opportunities, knowing that that's an area where BHP has been working and that you've been working with BHP on sort of looking towards closure. I was also wondering how involved in these projects, when you're out in the field doing this work with the communities, are the companies getting involved? How do you think you're going to be influencing the mining industry to also perhaps do things a little bit differently in the future and be a bit more proactive? Are they involved in this, or have they sort of farmed it out to you to do?
Okay, thanks for that question, Sarah. It's a very interesting situation that we have in that area, because, as you know, we're also working with BHP with their Cerro Colorado operation on some of their mine planning there, which involves some of the community aspects as well. We've separated those projects. So with the Kuskaya project, which is the one that I presented, BHP don't have that much involvement. They're obviously funding the project, and you know, we report back to them about the results of the project regularly, and they can have some input through that. So through that project, they don't have direct interaction with the communities, but obviously they have interaction through their community relations team in that area. I think a couple of points from that is the project that we're doing through Kuskaya really shows what the opportunities are for new innovations, for working closely with the communities in just developing new ideas, but perhaps, and actually that's maybe a benefit, not directly through the company, is bringing in groups like ourselves to work directly with the communities without the operation being there. So perhaps that's one of the strong points of that project. And as I say, just showing what's possible in terms of new innovations and testing things and getting the communities involved and interested in some of these new technologies, then with the opportunity to perhaps expand it to other areas in the territory. So I think it's a really valuable project for the communities and also for BHP who are looking to support the continued sustainable development of that territory, potentially beyond the operation.
Thanks, Doug. I think you will have no issues getting the communities interested with you, things like that biodigester. That's fascinating. Got me thinking about my own compost heaps at home. Yeah, look, about the water planning tool, the obvious thing that strikes me is how similar that environment is to so many others globally. I'm particularly thinking of the goldfields in Western Australia, for example. So I guess my question is, what's happening in those sorts of places, and is there potential for SMI ICE Chile to be involved in those sorts of activities?
Yes, I think there probably are the opportunities to test this tool in other areas. I don't know that much about the mining situation in Australia. I'll have to come over here, and I'd love to come over here and live for a bit longer than I have been. In terms of other areas in Latin America, there's certainly other opportunities, particularly in Peru, where we're also seeing serious issues with water shortages and a lot of interest in the development of desalination plants, where there's just a great opportunity for different water user groups to share that. So I'm sure the situation is the same in some parts of Australia as well, where there's also been investment in new water supply systems. And I think that's something, as we go into the third year of the project, is that we need to start to think about, given that it's been quite the project has been successful, and there's been a huge amount of interest from different sectors. Okay, how can we take this technology, the concept they've been developing, and transfer it elsewhere? And it would be quite nice to actually have a scenario where we've developed something in Chile and we transfer it over to Australia. So no, I think that'd be fantastic.
Thanks, Doug. Great talk. My question's about local universities. So I was just thinking, as I was looking at that, you know, if you think about Australian local universities, we've gone through we're in the process of going through quite a transition, in the sense that there are, you know, there's an increase in funding linked to closer industry connections and increased attention on you know, development of programs that are more strongly linked to industry. Are you seeing any sort of trends in that area with local Chilean universities? Have they changed their I guess stance with respect to companies, or is it pretty much been the same over that, you know, the last few years?
Yes. Before I answer that, I'm actually just going to ask if Katerina, if you can give out these quiz sheets, just so we're efficient with our time. Thank you. So yes, I think the ambition is there from the universities to work more with industry. But the development of the relationship that you need to have to undertake really large scale research projects isn't one day to the other. And it's also, I think, not 1 year to the other. So I think that's a really long road that academia in Chile needs to go down. There are plenty of examples. There's some really great research centers in Chile, like in AMGC at the University of Chile, CRIAN, and the University of Concepcion, that are doing a lot of work with industry. And I think they're also sort of showing and leading the way in that sort of area. So yes, I think it's coming. And I think also if we can help with that through the center, that'd be fantastic. We obviously have a lot of industry-backed research, and we're trying to pull in academic partners as well from other universities. So that'll hopefully develop the connections between those universities and the industry partners. So I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of interest. It's going to take a few years to really mature that relationship between academia and the industry. So you've got your quiz sheets. I'll give the answers shortly. I don't know what's going to happen if we have several people on that have the same number of correct answers. We might have to crack open the bottle of wine just now and just drink it between everyone. So if you can stick your answers down there, and I'll trust you that you're putting them down and then not recorrecting them when I give the answers. So I'll give you 1 minute.
Do we have any more
2
questions in the audience? I guess it is 10 o'clock, so we can also wrap up officially, and unofficially we can continue talking over tea and biscuits and coffee and wine. Oh, right, I should probably announce next week's speaker. So next week we've got Associate Professor of Geometallurgy, Simon Michaud, from the Geological Survey of Finland. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, but he's also formerly of JKMRC. And he will talk in detail on the quantity of metals required to manufacture just one generation of renewable technology in order to phase out fossil fuels. And from what I'm gathering, it sounds like it's more than we all suspect. Thank you. Thanks, Doug.